bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez and Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
Good morning, everybody. It is Football Friday here as we continue on the Coastal Sports Network. I am Angel Martinez. You are listening to Martinez and Company here on the Coastal Sports Network, brought to you by Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, as we are powered by Ion Tampa Bay. Don't forget to visit iontb.com for your latest weather, traffic, and news, as it is Friday around here in Southwest Florida. As we all know, there's all kinds of crazy accidents that happen from time to time. So you want to make sure you stay connected. And don't forget that you can follow them also on Facebook and on X at IONTB. So IONTampaBay.com, we thank them for being on board, along with Jimmy the Beef Guy and Moynihan Lumber as well. Don't forget, if you are here in the Southwest Florida region, you're especially in the Tampa area, and you happen to be an Eagles fan, visit Tampa Joe's. Go to tampajoes.com, 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida, where you guys can root on your Eagles this Monday night as they play Atlanta. But you guys can go there. Great food, a great atmosphere, great drinks. It is an absolutely outstanding time. And the Philly of the South group, run by Mike Klein and Michelle, you guys can say hello, stop by, and join the entire gang as well. So, as you all know, Tua, the injury, lots of questions now when it comes to Tua. So we'll get into a little bit of that later on. Gas Pump Guy will be calling in for his weekly Bucs report, as Tom Brady had put out there on a tweet to the Bucs apparently that he should have taken Baker Mayfield in his fantasy league. And apparently the Bucs had said it's still an old, not too late, Tom. So Tom, believing in Baker Mayfield, I think Baker Mayfield again should get that contract extension with the Bucs. But it's still a long season. It's only week 2, game 2 coming up for the Bucs, along with many teams out there in the NFL. So we'll go through the NFL as well a little bit later on and get our thoughts about who do we believe will end up winning this weekend for the week. And if you guys have not gone to Sports Radio or SR1029thegame.com, you guys can go there, and while you're there, you can click on the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em, because for last week overall, let me go back to the front of my own website here. But overall, if you guys click on the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em, it'll actually take you to our weekly picks, meaning that you can go there, just, pick the 16 games straight up. There's no plus, minus, over, under, none of that stuff, which I don't understand anyways, because I don't bet. But if you guys click on it, you will see it is under the CSN Florida group. So you can always join. It's never too late to join. Last week, out of the 7 of us, or 6 of us that are in, 7 actually, or 5 of us, pardon me. Out of the 5 of us right now, I'm in front at 14-3. Duncan Daz right behind me, 11-5. Gas Pump Guy is 10-7. Fuji 8-7. And Penguin AZ, who might be trying to call in a little bit later on, had a 3-13 type of week. And if you guys didn't miss doing your picks yesterday, listen, I went with Miami. I thought that Miami maybe had a chance against the Bills. My gut told me, this is why you should never go against your own gut, but my gut told me to go with the Bills. I didn't. I chose Miami, so that's my first loss of the week. But later on, we'll have our 5 picks of the week for sure. And those picks will end up being Detroit versus Tampa Bay, Green Bay versus Indianapolis, San Fran versus Minnesota, Seattle versus New England, and Atlanta versus Philly. So those will be the picks that the guys will be picking here in just a little bit, as I'll reply to someone here for a second. Yes, I'm on now. So that is for today. We'll get into USF as well, as the ladies did well on the road, even though they end up drawing a draw for the match. Still did well. They are now 4-1-2. 4 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws for the season. In the women's volleyball, pretty much a clean sweep last night on a amazing home match advantage as they continue to win at the Corral. Next game for them will be on Saturday. So that would be a good time. But We'll get into that, some NFL news, as obviously things come in hot and heavy. And a lot of people are talking about Tua. They want to make sure that he's okay. Now, listen, there comes a point in time where you really have to think about how much do you really, really, really want that ring. I know there's been a lot of guys that have come into the NFL, have come into the league, and they decided, you know what, I'm just going to hang around for as long as the wheels fall off. You have Aaron Rodgers, which I think those wheels are starting to fall off to the point where he's going to need some training wheels, because I just don't see where the New York Jets will do any better. Hassan Reddick still continues to be a holdout. I mean, I guess he's not worried about money. And maybe he's invested so well that he doesn't have to worry about it. But look at the amount of money that you're going to lose. So even if you get a new contract, which I think even the Jets would be like, listen, I'm just going to let him. You're either going to play possum, right? Either you're going to let Hassan Reddick turn around and say, all right, enough's enough. Let me sign for whatever and I'll play. Or you keep hoping that the New York Jets are going to turn around and actually award your contract. I don't know. I mean, there's a sounder I'll play a little bit later on with Salah talking about that it's almost like it is what it is type deal, but it's still a mess no matter which way you look at it. I know some people had put out earlier on this week mentioning that why don't they bring Hassan Reddick back? The Eagles don't want him back, and not for anybody goes nuts, not because it's anything bad. It's just that they weren't going to pay him in the first place because they knew he wanted to get paid again. So if you bring him back, then you're just getting the Jets problem, because at this point, what are you going to do? It's either you're going to pay him, but you're not going to pay him what he wants, and you're not going to bring him a league minimum because he doesn't want league minimum. Hassan Reddick is looking to get paid. Now, whether the Jets do it or not, who knows? How much is going to help the Jets? Who knows? They didn't look that well, obviously, in San Fran. And he can take Aaron Rodgers. And he talked about this thing about like some Pinot wine reference, whatever it was. I just don't know where Aaron Rodgers have gone. Like, he's just somewhere out there in the stratosphere of who knows where. Aaron Rodgers does not seem, to me, at least in my opinion, is not the same person people used to see in Green Bay. So the New York Jets, and listen, Jets fans, don't get upset. That's what you guys wanted, right? There was the opportunity, I think it was the year before or year prior, was with Russell Wilson. He ended up in Denver, didn't do too well in Denver. Now he's injured. He's in Pittsburgh. Now a lot of folks are also saying too that they want Justin Fields to be the starter. I don't think it's a bad deal. I think Justin Fields has earned it, in my opinion. And then we'll see if Chicago, did they make a mistake by letting Justin Fields go? Did he not have enough weapons behind him? Did he not have the right O-line coach? Did he not have the greatest QB coach? So many answers, right, to a lot of questions that we're probably never going to get. Only because it's a week by week. We see what happens this week. We saw what happened last week. So there's so much to go on in the NFL. Nothing ever shy of things happening. You also had Tyreek Hill, which Pete pointed out this morning, that he came in on a scooter last night. Didn't look Tyreek Hill-esque. Now, again, I don't know if it's because of the drama that's been going on or because he had mentioned about his knee being operated on. I have not a clue, but Miami just didn't look sharp last night. They just didn't. That O-line, I mean, my own wife was saying how bad the O-line look. And they have weapons. Miami has weapons. Now, I don't know, again, if what they're going to do with their quarterback situation, because if I'm Tua, this is a real strenuous conversation that you really need to have with your family. Because will I ever make millions in my lifetime unless I hit the lottery? Probably not. It's just not in my cards. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a high-end media personality, like Tony Bruno and other people before in the past that have been able to make millions prior to now. A lot of the media broadcasters, that when their contracts have ended, they're not going to get paid what they used to get paid before. So, a lot of these folks, they made their money. God bless them, and hopefully they did the right thing for their future. Tua's family, in my opinion, I believe, will never have to worry about anything else if Tua decides, you know what, this is it. Because how much is enough? How much do you have to put your body through to beat it to basically a senseless pulp? Because You guys have seen the hit. If not, I'll find it and replay it for you guys. He should have slid, number one. I mean, you already had the first down. You heard it last night during the broadcast on Thursday Night Football on Prime. You can hear him saying that, he should have just slid, but he decided to go head first. And listen, to each his own, that's what he wanted to do. That's it. It was like Revis from Tennessee. I don't know what that guy was thinking. He was getting, he looked like a pinball machine? He looked like the pinball, just being bounced around back and forth. It's week 1. And you're trying to beat up your body like you're in week 18. You have to be smarter as a quarterback. You guys heard me ask Gabe Morency on Pete's show that will Jaden Daniels learn from this? Because we all saw it last week. Jaden Daniels decided his chin strap, he wanted to wear him loose. And then you see the helmet bobbling back and forth. Last I checked, I don't believe last week on the road was bobblehead night. But if you want to cause that much severity, that much injury to yourself, and you're young, and you're just coming into the NFL, we don't know what kind of hits that Tua took in college. Unless you followed every single game and they go back and try to find footage. But last night was not a good night for Tua. Mike McDaniel, of course, gave him a kiss on the side of his head when he left. Thankfully, he was able to walk on his own back to the locker room. And you heard Damien Woody talk about that what if he gets cleared? What if he gets the green light? Would you, and if Tua says he wants to come back, would you support him? And listen, Damien Woody said he would, and that's great, fine, and wonderful by Damien Woody. To me, still, if I'm just being completely honest, if I'm his teammates, I'm thinking like, man, do I really want to see my guy come out here and just get beat again? Bang his head against the turf? I don't know. I just think it's time for Tua to really think long and hard what he wants to do with his NFL career. Listen, he can be a broadcaster, right? He can break down film. You got Gruden, and I'll bring that up a little bit later on, who still loves football and still breaking down film. He actually broke down one of the Texans spread, what they do on offense. So think about what you want to do. You have kids. The last thing you want, and we all remember Junior Seau and what happened with Junior Seau. And the last thing that we want is a Junior Seau situation, only because then you're going to get knocked around, and then no one knew what happened to Junior Seau until the very end. So I just hope that Tua makes the right choice and he does the right thing. But on the line with us right now, as he does every single week, this week a little bit earlier, is Gas Pump Guy with his weekly Bucks report. Gas Pump Guy, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you, Angel?
I am doing just fine. It's another Football Friday. Picks weren't too bad last week, which I'll have to get yours because I know you won't have too much time this morning, but I'll make sure I get your picks before you get off the line here. But Tom Brady had mentioned, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put it out there on a tweet on X and said he should have went with Baker Mayfield. He should have had him on his fantasy team. And then the Bucs' response was, it's still not too late to put him on there. In my opinion, and I would love to get yours because obviously you follow the Bucs, is Tom really behind Baker Mayfield?
As far, Tom Brady, he seems like, I don't know him personally or anything, but Tom Brady seems like a guy that what he says is what he means, so I feel that Tom Brady is behind Baker. Baker's a good quarterback, and Tom Brady seems like the type of person that likes good players. When he came to Tampa, he elevated the attitude in that locker room.
Yeah.
And I give him all the credit for that, because he turned the attitude into whatever to let's go out there and kick some butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're right. So I like so far what he's doing. I think for Tampa Bay, and as I mentioned before, I know we like to goof around a lot with some things, but I think for Tampa Bay right now, they're looking good. 1-0, it's going to be tough though. We can't kid ourselves because it's going to be really tough this week. They head up to Detroit, or they play Detroit.
Yeah. We go up.
Yeah. So it's going to be a tough week. Both teams undefeated right now because it's only week 1. Now it's week 2, game 2. Baker Mayfield looked good. Tampa's offense looked great. Obviously, the defense stood everybody up last week. But this is going to be probably the biggest challenge, I want to say, not only for this season, but early on in the season, because the schedule doesn't get pretty much any easier for Tampa Bay. But what's your thoughts on Sunday's game versus Detroit?
Well, the sad part is we got a lot of our secondary guys in the defense. A lot of them are off or out because of injuries and stuff. And one of our best safeties, Winfield, he's out. He's in the concussion protocol, I believe. And it's just it stinks, man, because that defense did really good last week, and then all the guys that went out through the game we're wearing pretty thin there, and I'm worried about the offensive line of Detroit. They can push people around. They're really good, and I'm just hoping that Vita Vea and all the guys up front. I hope they can make some moves. I mean, they're professional athletes, so they're really good anyway as it is. But I'm worried about the offensive line of Detroit. They have some really good players on that team, and it's going to be a real challenge for the defensive line at least. And if he starts throwing bombs down the field to test our secondary, I mean, we got some good backups back there, but it's hard.
No, you're right. It is extremely hard. And you figured you have what? Trying to look at some of the stats here from their last meeting, which happens to be in last year in Detroit. I mean, manhandled 20-6 from last season. And not saying, we're talking about two different seasons. First season for Baker Mayfield. I think last year we saw more injuries that we see at this point here, even though they're banged up. But you got to look at Todd Bowles so far looked well week one. Again, week one, the one thing I think that we saw, or at least we've seen a difference was last year, and he's not saying as much as this year, and even as much the year before. But last year he kept saying, we practiced well, we did well in practice, we did good in practice. Like he referred so much to practice, and then we saw some games, obviously, where the Bucs, it was like, did you guys really practice? So this year, he's kind of toned it down a little bit. Seems a little more focused, which we had mentioned during the preseason that if in order for him to keep his job, because we believe that Todd Bowles is on, and anybody that's saying any different, I think it's absolutely nuts. But we believe that Todd Bowles is still in the hot seat. No different than Nick Sirianni. I mean, you won week one out there in Brazil, but now you have to show the Philly fans back in Philly on Monday night you can beat Atlanta. But to me, Todd Bowles looks so far the part as a head coach. I think your new offensive coordinator you guys have, because Dave Canales, not a great start with the Panthers after being shellacked by the Saints. But Todd Bowles seems to have this team well organized, and it seems like, Gaspam Guy, the running back situation in Tampa Bay is getting to be a lot better in the horizon.
Oh yeah, I think the 1-2 punch that we have with Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, I think they are gonna make leaps and bounds. I think that Liam Cohen, I think he has brought a new energy to the running game. I know Dave Canales tried to work it out, but just for some reason it didn't work for him. I think Cohen has a better attitude towards it, and he showed in the first game that he's going to be committed to the run. But at the same time, you can be committed to the run, but you have to produce on the field. And Irvin and White, I think they did well. They did really well.
No, this can be it's a silly question, but I keep thinking about it every time they mention Bucky, because we got our first Bucky's here in Florida. I think they're making a second one as well. How long before we see him in a Bucky's commercial?
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. That would be pretty hilarious, though. I mean, I got to say that would be a great sponsor and a great endorsement for both sides, because you got a name like Bucky. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. That's what I think. At least what I believe. I know I have Duncan Dad standing by in the green room there, but for me, I hope, and I know Detroit's defense is going to be really tough. We saw what happened last week. Detroit Rams, tough matchup there, but I think I would love to say that Tampa Bay could squeak away this game. I just think Detroit's defense will be just a little bit too much for Tampa Bay, but I believe it'll be a lot closer than last season at 26. And I want to say it's not too lopsided, because Tampa Bay kind of put themselves in bad situations last season. And that's where I referred to the whole practice thing, because I remember leading up to that game, that's all Todd Bowles kept referring to was practice, practice, practice. And then we didn't see Jack out there on the field. But if I had to guess, maybe we're looking at a 21-17 type game. And I said, if Baker Mayfield can really light it up in the first half, and then the defense can really kind of cool things down in the second half, then Tampa Bay should be fine. But I want to know your thoughts here for for this week? And then what do you believe the outcome would end up being?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close game this year too. I would like to see us be able to run it more. I know it's going to be hard because their defense is really good too on the line. So if we can get a consistent run game with the pass game, then I think I think it's going to be a real close game regardless. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or lopsided like it was last year because, like I said, the Bucs have a whole different type of attitude this year, and you can see it on the field. They're excited to play. They're behind Baker, and that's what we need is to be everybody rally around Baker, and he has such a great attitude that it just rubs off on everybody. And when you're having fun, it shows on the field that you guys are all committed together. So if we can get the run game going a little bit more, I know we have the passing's down. I mean, he's threw 3 touchdowns to 3 different players last Sunday. So I think we got the passing down. If we can get that run game going so we can get some play action or something like that, then I think it'll be a real close game. Obviously, I'm going to say the Bucs are going to win, but on that note, I'm also going to say that it is going to be a real defensive game for both sides.
All right. What kind of last question here, and then I'll get your picks as well. But so, what kind of air attack do you think that Baker Mayfield has? 20 for 28. How many yards in the air? And then do we see more of the running attack?
It's funny you say that because last time I said Baker was going to have 200 yards, and then I texted you on Sunday. I was like, I think maybe 150. Mm-hmm. I should have just stuck with my original 200 because he threw 289 for. Excuse me. He threw 289. So I think it'll be more even. I think I'm going to say 200 again in the air, maybe 100 on the ground between Irving and White, but They have to be consistent and they have to be complementary on both sides, running and passing.
All right. Now, the 5 picks, I'll get Duncan Dads, Fuji's later on, Rick Marcus as well, but because I know you have to go, you have shorter time this week than you did with us last week. 5 games of the week starting out, and I know you're going to go with Tampa Bay, so I'm already going to put you down for Tampa Bay. That's a no-brainer. San Fran, Minnesota.
Oh, I'm going to go San Fran.
Okay. Listen.
I like their backup running. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
fine.
I
like their backup running back. If he keeps doing what he's doing, I think McCaffrey is going to be out of a job there soon. Could be.
That was, last week there was a little, not like bad chirping, but basically he according to the running back was like, you know what, I really didn't know that I was going to be put into the game, even though alleged they told the NFL he was supposed to be there earlier. So I want to see how that's going to finish out this week because he was like, you know what? I'm just going to skip that question when he was telling the media when the media asked.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm going to skip that because I don't want to be a part of that question. All right, next one, Atlanta, Philly.
Philly.
All right. Good choice.
I can't. Come on. I can't pick Atlanta. They're in my division. You don't do that.
I just wanted to see if you're going to go there or not. All right, Green Bay and the Colts.
Oh, that's going to be a tough one.
There's no Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love's out. So, I don't know. I think maybe Green Bay will still take it.
All right. And then the final one from you before I let you go here is Seattle and the Pats.
Ooh. I'm sorry, Pete, but we're going to have to go with Seattle on this one.
Wow. Interesting. They did it well last week.
I like Geno. He's good.
He is. Yes. I can't knock it. You would think if anybody really wanted to kind of give up on his career, on his own career, it could have been Geno, but Geno's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to resurrect this. Just like Baker Mayfield. You talk about 2 good examples of quarterbacks that could have been done. And even what if, no one mentioned this, and I know you have to run, but no one mentioned this, and I just thought about this right now because we were talking about Tampa Bay. What if the Dolphins reach out to Jameis Winston? That actually may not be too bad.
Well, I think that Jameis is going to end up playing in Cleveland because I think Deshaun is done. I don't think he's I don't think he's in the game anymore. Like I texted you, I think sometime this week, and I said Watson he was there for the money, and now this allegation that came out and all this stuff, I think he's done in Cleveland. I think his career is over. I don't think he's going to play anywhere else. If he does, it'll be a surprise to me because you get that many things going on and allegations against you. I mean, how do you come back from that?
And that's the one thing I said yesterday when Pete and I were on the Pete Shepard show was that if there's a video that's going to come out with Deshaun Watson, it's not going to be good for Deshaun Watson. It's just not. And now, according to the defendant, that she said, not only is there a video, but then there's also a witness as well. And it's this day and age, before you may have gotten away with a lot of stuff, even with closed circuit television cameras, because they weren't even the best back then, that they would just get, all just wonky and stuff. But it's not looking good for Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's the worst way to end your NFL career. Injury, something, dumb, or you decide to say like, I'm out of here like Barry Sanders. But to get another video implication, and somewhere somebody is going to reach out to that lady, and there's going to be a number on that video, and then we're like, listen, I'm going to send you the video. I don't know how you got it, but here it is, and then she'll get a payday. And before you know it, because I think the lawyer stated to Deshaun Watson's group was they had either 7 or 14 days to get back to him. And according to the defendant, she says she's been trying to settle this for 2 years, and he basically blew it off. So this might be the one that might be the icing on the cake for Deshaun Watson, which is not a good look.
Oh yeah, this is going to be, as they say, the nail in the coffin, and it's sad to see because I liked Deshaun when he played for Houston, and I think he's a good quarterback. But you just can't overcome problems like that. You don't do stuff like that. That's not what a superstar or a human being in general would do. It's not what you do.
Yeah, no, that's exactly not what you do. I did hear some music or something there in the background, but that's something that you definitely don't do. But listen, Casting Guy, as always, thank you for calling in. We do appreciate it. Thank you for the picks. And then, of course, we'll do the recap come Monday, and let's see if the Bucs can actually beat the Lions. It's going to be tough.
Yes, it is going to be tough. Before I go, though, if Q has the I don't remember what her name is, the lawyer lady on next week, we should ask her, too, what she thinks about the Deshaun Watson stuff going on.
Oh, yeah, Attorney Brooke. Yeah,
Yes.
I think she might be coming back on next week. So yeah.
She was great.
She was very insightful. Obviously, God bless her. She's a Jets fan. But
Yeah.
she'll find out this week. I'm just, Aaron Rodgers is really, really just not making any more sense anymore. I honestly think, and I want to get an opinion as well from Duncan Dad once I let you go, but I think Aaron Rodgers is like, you know what? I don't care. Just give my payday and friggin' be done with.
Oh yeah, he's another one that I think he's checked out. He's just there to collect money, and it's going to show sooner or later. Then he's going to bow out.
Yes, I think so. I really do think so. Well, I'm pretty sure we'll be going back and forth on Sunday game day and figuring out what the Lions are doing. I know it's a busy weekend. It's the Tampa Bay Sun's going to be playing Saturday night. They're having Hispanic Heritage Night. If you guys have not purchased your tickets, you still can. Go to TampaBaySunFC.com or write to SR1029thegame.com. Click on the homepage. You'll see the logo for Tampa Bay, the Sun. So click on there, and it'll take you out to their website. Therefore, you guys can go out there and purchase your tickets. We'll be out there on Saturday covering the game, as well as the first time covering the match, Covering the match as they're coming off of their first road win for the season, the first win period. Hopefully they can now make it 2 in a row in front of the hometown fans. So Gaspam Guy, have yourself a great weekend.
You too, sir. I'm sure we'll talk sometime during the weekend.
I'm quite sure.
All right, take it easy.
You too. All right, there goes Gaspam Guy. So we thank Gaspam Guy for tuning in and coming on as well. And then if I take one thing away, I'll bring another thing up, which would be now live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is Duncan Dad as we get ready now for week 2 in the NFL. Duncan Dad, thank you for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure. Love hearing all the Tampa Bay talk from real fans down there because, like you said, not to throw it under the bus, but let's talk football down there. You have a good team. You
do. Tampa Bay, and Dolphins, last night might be a whole different story, but the Bucs are good. And it's not a lot of talk down here. I don't know. Again, I don't know why. And the flagship station that's here on TV, there's not much really that they mention about it. And then there's a Sunday version of the pregame show, like we know with the Eagles on 94 WIP. Mm-hmm. But here it's weird, Duncan Dad, which doesn't make any sense to me. So let's say the game's at 1:00. They'll do the pregame show between 9 and 10, the actual live version. Then they'll do like some, I don't know, infomercial type. Sundays are always usually on these big name places. They have like, Car Wash X or whatever. And then they repeat the live version of the show again, like around 11 o'clock to like 12. And to me, if you're going to do that, I mean, what's the point? Why don't you just go live at 11 instead of going live at 9? I mean, unless you're the only thing I can think of, and would be kind of an excuse would be because I know where the studio is located is in St. Pete. So unless they have to go to St. Pete to do the live version of the show and then drive over to Ray J, then I can understand just because the Howard Franklin Bridge, it gets a little bit congested, obviously from the Tampa fans coming from St. Pete heading over to Tampa. But I don't know. I just don't get it. And hopefully here at Southwest Florida's newest game in town, we'll cover it just a tad bit more so everybody can end up joining it. And by the way, USF last night, I'll get into it a little bit later on. The women's volleyball team, Duncan Dad, I know you may not follow them. It's okay. That's what I'm here for. Look absolutely phenomenal last night. I was watching here on the big screen, along with watching the women on the match as far as soccer. And Gaspam Guy says... he says hello, and he said thanks for a follow on Twitter, Duncan Dad.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But the women's soccer team looked absolutely outstanding last night. Señorita Galak, the goalkeeper, again, pretty much just about standing on her head last night, drew a 0-0 draw. But the good thing is 4 wins, 3 of which they've done it in a row. 1 loss, that one being at the first match of the season, and now 2 draws. So not bad for the women, but I'll get into it a little bit later on. I want to get into it here as I'm kind of 10:39. You guys are listening to Martinez coming here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Of course, I try to do the limited commercials, but at the same time, too, we got to make sure we pay the bills. So thanks to Monahan Lumber for their sponsorship, along with Jimmy the Beef Guy. You guys can go to jimmythebeefguy.com. Outstanding sandwiches. I can't wait to do a live show from there because the smells. You know all about this, Señorita.
I'll come down for that. I'll come down for that show.
Oh, I'm dying for it. That's gonna be such an excellent show. I can't
wait.
It's
more
for that.
Pleasant weather than Chicago's having, so come south.
Much better. Rick just texted in his picks, so I'll make sure he's got to run. So thank you, Rick, for texting in your picks there. No, but it's going to be, listen, I can't wait for that one. It's going to be a good show, good live show. Hopefully we get a lot of folks from Fort Myers to come out there and watch Pete and myself live there, as it'll be basically 2 out of the 3 shows will be live because by the time Q comes on, I think they may be closed. But it'll be a good day out there at Jimmy's. So when that comes up, folks, we'll make sure we'll let you know there on the social medias and along with the website so you guys can keep up. And if you have the app, as we always suggest, you can download it directly from the homepage, sr1029thegame.com, sr1029thegame.com, just like Duncan Dad, just like Gaspam Guy does. And then you guys can follow it. And so make sure you put on your notifications. Now, for anyone who's downloaded the app since I created it myself over 2 months ago, no, it's not available on the app stores yet. So if you guys look for the ones on the app stores, it's the old version. The reason why I did everything all over again, because you can text from the app, call from the app, watch the live show from the app. You can also listen to the radio version of the app as well. So as I say to Duncan Dad, every time he goes out for a workout in the morning, as he makes his trip out to Dunkin' Donuts, then he switches over from the live video element over to the radio, pops it in the car. And then once he's standing in line Dunkin' Donuts, he can just pop the video back on if he chooses to. Throw it back on the radio, go back home, and take care of business. So don't forget, you can download it directly from the homepage. No matter what device you have, it is compatible with every device that you own electronically. So don't forget to download the app. But Duncan Dad, before Fuji calls in for his weekly Eagle segment as well, Deshaun Watson, which I can't believe this guy, like this story, not that the story should ever go away, because we will, I guess until the documentary comes out, we'll never know exactly what was truth, what was lie, and what was the in-between, as people like to say. But I mentioned yesterday on Pete's show in the morning is that if there's a video that comes out with any kind of damage, and apparently if this defendant wanted, or plaintiff, if she wanted to come on and basically say, listen, I got the video, right? Or as the people say now, the receipts, I can't stand it. It drives me bananas. But she has the video, and not only does she have a video, but she also has someone else too to basically testify and say, yeah, this really happened. Not a good look. It should have been taken care of by the attorneys. That to me also kind of plagues with the way he's, since he left from the Texans, went over to Cleveland. I think it's also hurt his ability and his playmaking. And then, of course, we heard that I believe his father had passed away. A friend of his also had passed away. So that doesn't help either. But I believe this week, that might be it for Deshaun Watson. He may not be in uniform this week.
I know Stefanski hasn't gone as far as saying he's unavailable. So, I mean, he's gonna toe that line and sort of do what the NFL instructs him to do at that point. And I guess rightfully so, because if he goes and pulls the trigger on it, sorry for the euphemism, but if he goes and does that too soon, premature, then that leads into a whole bunch of other back-end litigation with the CBA, with the players' union. So, he's in a tough spot where he's got to sort of mitigate all these circumstances and do it to the best of his ability. I think this situation, what really sticks out and what is completely different as ones from before is before you sort of had a class action suit, right? Going against this guy saying, hey, I've got 24, 25 unknown XXXX, whatever, victims, bringing this to the forefront. I think it's the three big components from before was that a lot of these people right from the get-go, it seemed as if, could be wrong, they sort of piled on a lot on the back end of this lawsuit. People are like, that's kind of fishy. The second part was he always initiated to the best of my knowledge, the contact. He was the one setting up the massages. He was the one who was going to XYZ proprietary place, right? The third thing was, had this gone to trial, had there been discovery for the defendant, for the plaintiffs,
right,
there would have been a cross-examination for discovery from the defendant side would have been like, hey, listen, he's saying it's not just him. He's saying you do this all the other time. And I really feel at that point there was a laundry list of quote-unquote clients in these young ladies, black book or whatever, that would have come under a lot of fire had this all really, really blown up. High-ranking people in that area. Who knows how far that stuff goes? But where there's smoke, where there's fire, and usually when it goes out real quick and goes away, bigger players are at hand. This instance, though, from what I've read, is they were going to have a date, right? Like he was supposed to come pick her up. They were supposed to go out. It seemed as if there was like mutual text going back and forth. She's like, hey, I'm running late, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I'm going to show up at the apartment, but okay, fine, let you nice pleasantries. Or obviously, it's an athlete in front of your face. Okay, I'm going to go finish get done. Comes out, and she's presented with this option. It seems like under no circumstance was she under the impression that he was there to see her for any other reason aside from we're going out on a date. He wasn't coming for a massage. He wasn't coming for other favors, maybe in flirtatious stuff in the text, who knows, but she's very, very clear in what she reports to have had happen. And now you throw onto that, oh, well, yeah, I went and talked to my friend, and my friend, has seen me in this state. And, I have a video of, this whole, experience either during, before, or after the fallout. Like, this does not look or bode well, for him. And I think the reason why it's waited so long to come out is that the prior litigation that was against Mr. Watson was kind of handled, wrapped up, and she couldn't have lumped herself in with them because it's a completely different avenue,
right,
of civil crime, criminal crime, however that wants to be. I don't know, like when people got stuff going on in their life, it happens to the best of us. It happens to the least of us, happens to the greatest of us, right? You can see in their actions and what they do in their task that, something's going on back here. Watson looked completely off trying to play football. Like he just doesn't wake up and know that this isn't coming to his doorstep. The same thing with Tyreek Hill. He didn't look like Tyreek Hill. He had a couple little bursts here and there, and you can fake it till you make it and cover stuff, but even his presence was sort of off a little bit. So I'm sure there's stuff going on in his head as well, of what being said and what happened. And, not for anything, but with all this stuff that just came down, went down, and the two things, I mean, Shannon Sharpe has got to be like saying his prayers and, thanks, to the gods of the universe for covering up that whole fiasco.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. And I'll get back to it in a second here when it comes to the young lady and Deshaun Watson. But I don't believe for a minute, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or anything else like that. You go on Instagram Live a lot, right? So does
it's super popular. I mean, and specifically him. I mean, everybody calls him Unk. He does a show with Ocho Cinco, right? I mean, so like he's got a great following. Correct. I mean, like he knows. I'm sure it's a fast thing on his phone. I'm sure he turns over and it's like IG Live. I know you can pull that little setting to your phone and you tap it and you're right up. I mean, like, come on, man. You don't who said it? One of the other commentators says, like, unless you were really pouring them back, unless you were really, off on something else, you don't make that mistake. Not in his position. You don't make that mistake.
Yeah, there's no
but
way.
He got a lot of clicks, got a lot of likes, got a lot of listens. Recycled his name through the 15-minute cycle. But hey, I mean,
but it's not like it's not like Shannon. Everybody listens to Shannon Sharpe, so it's not like he was, sorry for the pun, under the cover somewhere, and no one heard of him from anywhere else again.
Right, he definitely has a voice. He has a voice.
Yeah. So my thing is, how in the world could you just turn around? You're telling the people that all of a sudden that I threw my phone on the bed or wherever it was. He said he tossed it, and it must have magically gone on to Instagram Live. I'm not buying it. I'm just not.
The fact that he came back out and said, "Oh, like right away, I was hacked," and then he had to back it up because there's ways to show hacked, not hacked, whatever. But just like, hey, dude, listen, I was getting busy with my lady. Doing two consensual things, blah, 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 blah. Tapped the button, thought it was off. Okay. As soon as I saw all the phone calls and all the messages from my friends, corrected it, that was the end of it. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. But, when you lead with all the other stuff, it's really hard to back that up then.
It is. It's extremely hard. I know I have Mike Fuji also live from Philly on the line as well. But before I get the mic here in a minute, and Mike, if you want to chime in on this one as well, but it's just I find it extremely hard. And I was trying to talk to Pete and explain to Pete like what the steps in the process. If you don't put a shortcut on your phone, the process that it takes for you to be able to go on Instagram Live, it's not like. Twitter, you can bring up Twitter, and even then, you have to make sure you hit on the plus sign so you can make your post and then hit the plus sign again so you actually put your posts up there. Like, there's just no way.
It still asks you. That's what you're saying. Like, you're trying to say, like it still asks you, like, are you ready to go live?
Right.
Do we have access to your microphone and your camera?
Right. So that's
do you want this a private audience? You want this a public audience? Like, help me, man. Walk me through this, buddy. Walk me through this.
I'm not sold and I'm not buying it. I mean, I so far from what I understand, ESPN hasn't done much of anything whatsoever. And listen, you can do, everybody knows whatever you do within your own four walls stays within your own four walls until you make it more than the obvious to everybody. Now, what he gain out of it, I don't know, is somebody going to call him up and say, hey, like, I like the voiceover that you have. Pornhub's going to reach out to you and say, can they use you as a voiceover? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Sure. Honest to God. So I just think Shannon, he's never really put himself, other than that nonsense that went on over at Fox Sports, but that's like minor compared to what he did here. Now, thankfully, because like he said, it was consensual, we haven't heard the lady he was with to say anything any different. And also, who's to say if those two just weren't standing by the phone and making the noises and nothing really happening? Because again, nobody knows. I don't want to see the video. I don't think anybody else wants to see the video out there. So let me put that out there before anybody sends any kind of like hatred messages. I don't want to see the video. That's not what we're talking about here. My thing is just, I think it's a little bizarre when you do it. Fuji, who's also used Instagram, not a whole ton to go live, but when he's been down there at the link, I mean, he's thrown on either, from his phone, he's sent it out on Instagram and stuff. Fuji, are you buying that Shannon Sharpe just threw the phone down and poof, it went live?
No, I actually just tuning in because I had trouble logging on. That's why it took me so long. But I heard I was coming home from my second job last night, and I thought I heard something about this whole Shannon Sharp thing about, him like being intimate with somebody in the background. Somebody, was it WIP or I think it was 97.5. It's ESPN. And they were talking about, was this actually something that they taped? Like, was it like a commercial or was it just something that went live? I mean, this is like, I didn't really hear all the logistics of it, but I don't know. I'm kind of surprised to see if Shannon Sharp would actually do something like this. Because if you go back to who was the basketball player that was with ESPN?
Paul Pierce.
Yeah, got caught with all the hookers and all that. And he was live, but I can't see Shannon Sharp actually trying to make some big to do about actually doing this. It could have been for publicity because, well, if he did, I'm sure he'd be fired in a heartbeat, but it is pretty crazy. Like I said, I really didn't hear the whole, I heard a brief synopsis of it, but I'm still trying to find out the info about it myself. Which, like I said, I just think it would be crazy if Shannon Sharp would even try to pull a stunt like this to go live, being in privacy with a woman.
Yeah, because again, I don't think anybody, number one, no one will ever know what goes on in your own home until you make it public. And I know there's a lot of folks, the ones that I think kind of drive me nuts the most, and I don't know if people are still doing it. I don't, listen, Facebook, I can't stand you, so I'm just going to put it out there right now. I don't give a shit one way or the other if you decide you want to stop it because I'm on Pete's Facebook page, so I really don't care because I don't like you clowns. And then you have the audacity to send me an email telling me that if I was Meta verified, oh, okay, I got a couple of choice words for you, but I'll keep it nice here this morning. But to me, it's one of those things, people on Facebook, which makes me laugh, is that there's people I just went and used the bathroom. I just went and got coffee from my cupboard. I just walked over to my couch. I don't need to know what you're doing every single minute of your day. Now, if you're at a sporting event or something else, like if you told your friends, hey, listen, I'm going to this crazy EDM concert, I'm going to put stuff out there. Sure, we would love that because now, just like Duncan Dad, for example, surprised everybody being out there at the Olympics with his lady. And first picture I came across on Twitter, I'm like, what in the world? And I quickly sent him a text. But that's different. But if you're constantly putting your information out there, it's why? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I hope that Shannon Sharp didn't do this for some sort of publicity thing. We've seen guys that when it comes to these big venues, World Series, boxing matches, especially during Super Bowl, well, they'll run out, whatever, GoDaddy, or not saying that GoDaddy will, so GoDaddy don't think I'm putting any, like DraftKings or anybody else. They'll pay you for X amount of dollars, so put it across your chest. And, for a guy, because I don't think any woman would ever be crazy enough to do so. But a guy will, take off his shirt, rip it off. He'll either have it across his chest or across his back, run across the field until he eventually gets tackled for publicity. Shannon doesn't need that because he's never been in a negative spotlight. So I just hope it was a one-time incident, that it doesn't happen again, and that it'll just be gone. And whatever ESPN comes down and says, listen, here's what you're going to have to do to kind of repair yourself there a little bit, that's it. But again, they were consulting, both of them consulting adults. So that is what it is. And I guess we'll leave it at that. But the Deshaun Watson situation, that's going to be something that's just, you literally got a second chance from another NFL team and got paid more than what you did with your original team. And then you still, it's the composure on how to handle yourself and whatever, some people, it's different situation for different folks. But again, I don't know what the NFL is going to do. I don't think, depending on what the outcome is going to be between here and Sunday, either he'll suit up, but he'll be on the sidelines, or the NFL will say, you know what, and that's it. And then the Browns will basically be off the hook for all that guaranteed money. and then they're going to find themselves another quarterback. So I know that Jameis Winston right now is the backup QB. Miami's going to be looking for one because apparently there's a lot of folks that don't believe in Miami's backup quarterback. So, we'll kind of leave that situation there unless you have something else to add there, Duncan, that about Deshaun.
No, just that the plaintiff in the investigation or in the case is, confirmed that there will be meeting with the NFL to provide more details and to show the video of what they have going on. So I guess from that point, I don't think the NFL is going to sit on it for, 2-3 days. I'm sure they'll act pretty swiftly. And this was reported, I think, 16, 20 hours ago that they were going to meet with them. And then, I guess in the last 2 hours, it was updated that Deshaun Watson allegations, his lawyers provide a timeline, alleges the video evidence, to be presented to the NFL. So Goodell, he doesn't need any more heat on his league in any way whatsoever. He's got the Tyreek Hill stuff that he's dealing with. He has the offseason gambling stuff for certain players that are going through it still. You have the Tua with the CTE going on. This is a pack it up and go. Now, you're right. What's going to happen on the back end? I mean, to some point, I would give some kind of compensation to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there has to be something in there where a portion of the contract wouldn't have been fulfilled that you can, sort of get out of it. I mean, they're going to away scot-free, but at the same time, I don't think they should be on the hook for the $200 and whatever odd $1 million, especially the guarantee money. Come on. Because, you get guarantee money, but they're able to break it out.
Correct.
Over the years, that's how, Howie does what he does here in Philly.
Right.
But it's just it was a terrible situation that got worse, continues to get worse. And like at some point, right, you just have to be like, you know what? Everybody's just got to wash their hands. We wish everybody the best, but, let's go forward. And like you said, now it opens up the uncomfortable conversations of like the quarterback carousel. Like, who's going to start there? Who's going to go to Miami? Where can we take from? Pittsburgh is already going through their issue with the Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Like, my goodness. Like, this is week 2. We haven't even played the second week of games yet, man.
Yeah. What's that, Fuge?
No, I was going to say, not to cut you off, Duncan, Dad. I mean, like, what quarterbacks are actually out there on the street that could,
well, they were saying that,
offer their services at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody throws around Kaepernick's name, obviously, but Mac Jones is available partly if they go ahead and reach out to him. I think he's in Jacksonville now.
Joe
Flacco. I think Kenny Pickett in Philly, honestly, if you think about it, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think, he's clearly, the number 3 on our depth chart. I think at this point, and to your point, you're going to make it. You made earlier, Angel, that I wanted to say something to. Unfortunately for Miami, these compounding issues have a really terrible effect and a really terrible onus that this could really take apart the whole team. Tyreek could be like, my knees bother me a little bit more now. I'm going to shut it down. Achane, who was just injured, he came back a little soon because this big game versus Buffalo. Maybe he starts to pull back a little bit. Waddle, who was getting beat up just as much as, Reek was on the pass, maybe he dials it back a little bit. Like, there's a lot of dominoes that could fall. And the same thing in Cleveland, right? Everybody sold a really tremendous bill of goods for Cleveland and how amazing they were going to be. And they got waxed, like straight up waxed by Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're talking about 2 potential playoff teams that, are on paper or powerhouses. But
sure, absolutely.
I mean, let me ask you guys this. I don't really know the logistics of Deshaun Watson's contract, but now with these allegations coming out, is it possible there's a clause in there where, Cleveland can just cut bait all ties with Deshaun Watson?
Yep. They can.
Even other allegations, but, still.
Yeah, but when you have 22, you're working on now number 23, and that's that they know of. I mean, there could be still more people that may have not said anything because there were, some people when they're victims, they don't want to come out because they feel embarrassed in whatever situation may be. And we don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because we've seen it with other cases. But no, with Cleveland, they would be able to basically dump the contract along with the guaranteed money. The guaranteed money would be a big thing because they wouldn't take a cap hit for it. So that would be the big thing. For Cleveland. By the way, guys, I got to squeeze in here real quick. 11:02 here on the East Coast. 8 02 there on the West Coast. You are listening to Martinez Company here. Angel Martinez, Duncan Dad joining me today. Mike Fuji, both from Philly. Mike on the line. And we'd like to thank Moynihan Lumber for being on with us as well, along with Jimmy the Beef Guy, jimmythebeefguy.com. Don't forget to visit, and you guys can order your catering platter for your, football Sundays. Just make sure if you're going to do it today, because if you try to put it on for Saturday, because you get so many orders during football season, it could be a great possibility you may not get it. I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but it's better if you put it in either on a Thursday or Friday so you can pick it up come tomorrow or even today so it can be ready for you on Sunday for game day. So we'll be having a live show there in the future down in Fort Myers. I can't wait for that one. So I think it's going to be a great time down at Jimmy the Beef. Don't forget jimmythebeefguy.com. Also, Tampa Joe's, don't forget, visit tampajoes.com, 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida. Hop, skip, and a jump over from the airport. Fuji's been there. Leslie Goodell's been there. We've been there. Rick Marcus, my lovely wife, has all been there. We've had a ton of fun over there. The entire crew will be there on Monday night. So if you are an Eagles fan, you are here in Southwest Florida, visit tampajoes.com. Philly of the South group will be there. And they will also be there when the Bucks come into town in about 2 more weeks or so. So it'll be a great time down there at Tampa Joe's. I don't know if I'll be live down there or not. I'm still kind of debating it because there's so much stuff that I have to do in between here and there. But don't forget, visit tampajoes.com. Yes, Fuji?
I was going to say I'll be in Tampa for the Eagles.
No, see, so if you're going to go down to Tampa Joe's and go see Fuji gets pretty much fired up. Matter of fact, if you can put a string on Fuji like the Goodyear blimp, he would just go bananas up in the air as well because he's just that kind of guy. You guys got to hear him fired up. But Fuji, I want to bring up something. And Duncan Dad, I want to refer this back to you as well because you had mentioned about bets and the guys getting in trouble now in the NFL with the NFL's dealing with that. Fuji had mentioned this about 3 years ago on our show when we were doing it at nighttime. And he also talked about the gambling aspect. And even Fuji had touched on it, saying that, in the future, if the NFL decided to go in the bed with gambling, it was going to be really tough. And now here we are. So either Fuji being Nostradamus and knowing the future of what was going to happen. But now you have DraftKings, which we saw, Duncan Dad, in Vegas, where we never thought in a million years that would even happen because the NFL had said, no, we're not doing that. We're not getting involved with gambling. That's not what we're here for. And then they end up literally being in bed with DraftKings. Now, we remember, again, different sport, Pete Rose, Major League Baseball, right? Still didn't get into the Hall of Fame because of his betting. So you mean to tell me that you're going to now investigate guys because you're not supposed to, bet against your team, bet against yourself, none of that stuff, but you've incorporated it into the NFL. So Fuji, I want to go to you first because is this kind of like a catch-22 for some of these athletes?
No, I'd say it's an hypocrisy. Especially baseball. Of course, you go back to the Chicago Black Sox back in, 1919? When they threw the World Series, and then, basically, the movie 8 Men Out, Julius Joe Jackson, they all got banned from baseball for, throwing the World Series. And, yeah, I would say because you look at a guy like, couple guys last year, Calvin Ridley 2 years ago got suspended and then reinstated. And it's just, I think it's a big hypocrisy. It's, here's another thing, and I don't want to get into this, but it's kind of funny how the government, what was it, Jersey and Vegas were always legally gambling states. And then, when the mafia did it, it was illegal. Now all of a sudden the government takes over and now it's like, everything's legal across the board. So you talk about a hypocrisy. I don't know. I just had to throw that in there.
No, you're right. No, you're right.
Start any.
Nah, dude,
but it's like
listen,
a double standard with the government.
It is a double standard because how do you have quick point? How do you have Martha Stewart being thrown in jail for inside information, but yet you got friggin' Pelosi who basically knows like what stocks going public? Oh, I got my money in there. So yeah. And listen, folks, we never talk about the politics here, but because it's in relation here to gambling and stuff, and as Fuji brought it up. So it is hypocrisy because you can't turn around and tell the guys you can't gamble, but put your bet on DraftKings or ESPN bets. Well, which one is it? I can't gamble or I can gamble as long as it's not against my own team. It's just, and from my understanding, I don't believe in the NFL right now there's any kind of crazy major clause in between. So who's to say if, let's say, Fuji's quarterback, Duncan Dad's the wide receiver, I'm the running back. Fuji tells Duncan Dad, you know what? Can you tell Levon to bet 100 against the Redskins and take the over-under? And then I give my info over to Duncan Dad, same thing. He passes it on to Levon. Levon makes that bet. So now are we guilty by association, or we just mentioned it to Duncan Dad and then he turned around, gave it to his lady. She made this bet. Truthfully, we should be off the hook because we didn't place the bet.
Collusion, right? That's why they got RICO laws, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's funny, but like I was doing a little bit of research here because Fuji's comment sparked my brain a little bit about the gambling stuff. The Pirates just let go their top draft pick because apparently in a minor league playoff game implications, he was tipping pitches to the opposite team. I mean, they were out of it. They didn't, So, but so they were just like, guess what, buddy, you're gone. And I think that's the line where it's blurred and it's confused. I mean, it is like Fuji said, it's hypocrisy. You're out here promoting, and I'm not throwing any of these companies on the bus because we'll take your sponsorships. We love it. But I would just say you need to really have some clarification on this issue because it is grossly affecting the player conduct.
Yeah.
Because you're catching, like Calvin Ridley's probably like the highest profile guy that was probably been pinched so far, right? And that's only because he thought, hey, I'm off and I'm injured, nothing's going on. I'm just going to throw bets down. They're like, oh, wait a minute, buddy. You're still playing under this umbrella. Take your time, go over here, sit out the rest of the year. Come back next year if you've been reformed. This is going on. I mean, it happened with Ohtani. Yeah. So if it's happening with Ohtani, what's happening with your favorite linebacker on your football team. He might not bet on his own team, but you're darn sure after he gets done with the week, he's calling up with his buddies and like, yo, man, I was lining up the other day and that O-line, he's hiding an injury. It's not good, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be surprised if they killed him on the sacks this week. Oh, okay. 5.5 team sacks. Yeah, okay, I'll bet that. I mean, but you don't get that information unless, one, you really sit down and study the film, unless you have a guy on the inside or somebody tips it to you. Because gambling is still 85 to 90% novice. It really is. It really is. As much as we understand lines, as much as we understand buying numbers and stuff like that, there are very few people who have actually made a living on this. We all like the parlays, and somebody's like, oh, this guy's going to get 2 touchdowns, and this unknown rookie guy is going to get 3 RBIs tonight, and it takes like a $13 bet and turns it into like $20,000.
Yep.
That's not the norm. But when you have consistent information on a manageable bet, and you can really, really hammer down on it, there has to be something there. Because you're saying, don't do it, and then you parading out people. If you put in $50 now, we'll give you a $150 bonus. Don't worry, if you miss on that bet, we'll give you your site credit. Blah, blah, come on. I mean, I've done it. I put bets down on, DraftKings, ESPN, Barstool when it was there, Penn Play. But what am I hitting? $5, $6? I bet like 40 cents, 50 cents if it lets you. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Fuji? You want to see something?
No, that's right. I mean, just to, what Duncan Dad's saying. I mean, you look at all these, you got DraftKings, what's the one Jamie Foxx does?
BetMGM.
Yeah.
It's like, look at it everywhere you go. It's like, there's parlays, bets, bet on this player. To me, it's, who's going to score how many touchdowns or throw how many touchdowns or field goals or, as you said, a parlay or a teaser, whatever. And it's like everywhere now, widespread, mainstream, whatever you want to call it. But, like I said, years ago, you had bookies and, that was illegal then. Now, all of a sudden, the government's making money off it, hand over fist. And, fantasy football's been around forever. And that's, gambling. Now you got I don't know, I'll go back 10, 15 years when you had, nobody. Everybody got involved in the act. ESPN, Yahoo, CBS Sports, like everybody. And now it's like, it's got to be like $1 trillion industry or $1 trillion business.
If you go to any search engine, I'm going to use the one that got the two big O's in the center. First thing when you put in how many betting apps related to the NFL, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get 7 right off the bat. Then you get the articles: Forbes magazine, Gaming Today, FanDuel, Sports Betting Dime, Gambling.com, Sporting News. It's inundated with the sports betting. It is, like Fuge said, it's got to be close to $1 trillion business. I mean, because the wagers that people are putting down,
right?
You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, and that's the problem we find with a lot of things in life, right? It's not necessarily the transparency, but it's the clarity in the message. Like don't leave me a gray area here. If you can't do it, you can't do it.
Right.
So then take it out and put it away. I'm not even going to bother with it. I'm not going to even joke around. I mean, I've known guys who have been in there. I'm sure you have too, Angel. I'm sure Fuge has too, where you get a couple athletes together and they start talking, and you're like, man, if I took this information and I ran with this, everybody and their brother would be in so much trouble right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what goes on, and that's what happens, especially when you have your, I hate to say it, you have your entourage. You got your people around you. I mean, I'm not going to throw, Shedeur under the bus, but he walks out of that Colorado game, 2 minutes left to go in the game. Team is still on the field. He's got his whole camera crew following him, and kudos to LaVon. She's like, this is exactly what NIL has done to college football.
Yep.
He doesn't care. He's getting paid.
Exactly.
He's getting paid. He don't got to stand around with his team.
Sure doesn't. That's why, that whatever watch endorsement that they put up there in Times Square, I mean, how's that worked out for him? I mean, he doesn't care one way or the other. He can lose every single game.
Sure.
What's he care? He's got his money. So it doesn't matter to him. The only thing that hurts him is for, draft consideration. But, you guys
get drafted.
Well, he'll still get it no matter what, but he's just, your value is not that great. It's going to be that, because if you decide that was, and we'll get into Eagles here momentarily, but that is such a bad look, period. And I would have thought Deion, as much as you like to, criticize people now anymore because you can't, if I go to a press conference and I can't, as long as I'm being respectful, let me put that out there first and foremost. But if I can't ask you a question without you trying to question me or my integrity, I'm like, unless I've done something to you or I've said something so bad somewhere and you finally got wind of it, and you ask me and you say, hey, I got this sound audio bite that says that you told me I suck, right? Okay, let's play it. So you play it, and let's break down the context of it. Why did I say you suck? Now, if it's to the point it was like really bad, like in a really derogatory type way, sure, yeah, I got to swallow that pill. So you know what? I'm wrong. I apologize, this and the other. Then if they choose to say, we don't want you around here anymore, it's a whole different story. But if I have to go into a press conference and then be on pins and needles because I have to be careful how I word my question, you're out of your mind. Because my thing is, if you had a bad game, there's nothing wrong. That would be like me with the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club after it's over, where we have the opportunity to go to the presser 10 minutes after a match. If I go up to coach and I just say, hey, coach, tough game tonight. We know it didn't look well. I know during the week you had mentioned about the new player signings that you have, some other women that came from different leagues, and how you put this good nucleus together. It just didn't work out, right? What are your thoughts? I didn't say anything bad there. All I said, it was a tough game. But if you can no longer say the word tough anymore either, you're out of your mind, because you shouldn't. Everybody knows what to say during a press conference, but now you have to. One is, I think it's absolutely nuts that you have to call him Coach Prime during a press conference. But why can't you say, Coach Sanders, whatever? But, and that might be minor for some folks. To me, I just think it was a bad look by Shedeur. It was a bad look by Deion. And then when people said something about it, you're getting upset, but you're supposed to lead by example. So if he's walking out, then why doesn't the rest of the O-line be like, well, we're done? 2 minutes on the clock. We're out of here. All right, let's leave.
Yep. Horrible look. It's horrible. I mean, like, do we need the Jim Mora's, like, we suck, we sucked, blah, 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 blah. His big old rant and goes all about the playoffs. Do we need that? I think sometimes you need that honesty from the coach. I think sometimes you need to be like, Belichick used to do that. He used to come out sometimes like, they kicked our ass. They dominated us in every area. Blah 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 blah. This wasn't a good look. We didn't do X, Y, and Z. But that just comes back to there's very few coaches and players now, and people included. Sometimes it's too little, too late. Sometimes you try to do your best, whatever. But like they don't want to initially take that accountability, responsibility for what they're doing. And sometimes taking that accountability, taking that responsibility is standing there, knowing you got waxed, letting the time run out. You hope to believe that all those players that sit on the bench when the confetti's raining down and they just lost the championship, they're taking it in as man, I don't want to feel like this again. Maybe I should have worked a little harder. Maybe I should have done this and that. But like, people don't want to go down that road anymore. Oh, offensive line wasn't blocking. This guy should have run this. That play was, wrong. Ref did this. Umps did that. Blah, blah. Like, at some point that gets run out. But now we champion that culture. We champion that response. We've seen it infiltrate every bit of our society. Well, I didn't do that. It was not my fault. What are you talking about? Like, I see right there. You're literally caught red-handed stealing the stuff. Oh, well, they told me to take the cup from Wawa. I didn't want to do it.
Right.
Really? Come on, man. Come on.
Be
better for yourself.
Since you brought it up, and I'm pretty sure Fuji got a kick out of it, here's Jim Mora back in the day.
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Do not blame that game on the defense, okay? I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't going to beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. You can't turn the ball over 5 times like that. Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that. Unbelievable. 5 turnovers. One of them, we've thrown 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record. That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Oh, that is the best. That is the absolute best.
I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Oh.
So just for fodder, for the quarterback was Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't, no offense to Jim Harbaugh. It wasn't Harbaugh throwing the ball, right? It wasn't Tommy Maddox throwing the ball. It wasn't Jeff George slinging the ball. This is Peyton Manning. And yeah, granted, it was Peyton's first year, right? 96?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But still, 5 turnovers? I mean, yeah, call it out, right? Okay. I'm sure Peyton learned from it. I mean, a Hall of Fame career.
Sure did. Good, Fuji?
I was going to say, on Dion's part, it just looks despicable and no accountability. Because, it's like, what, for future players, like, what are you really setting? Like, what kind of example are you setting for, kids coming up playing sports so you can just, nobody takes accountability for anything anymore. Like, it's just a disgrace, across the board because, back in the day, like to see Jim Moore flipping the hell out. Like, these guys I know it's college, but these guys get millions of dollars and like, you don't show up to even play. And nobody wants to take accountability for losing anymore. It's just like, oh, okay, whatever. Real nonchalant, and it's a disgrace.
I'll tell you, I haven't really
watched. What's your future hold for the youth? Seeing examples like this.
Was that Duncan Dad?
No, I was going to say, just jumping on Fuji's point, I don't think I remember recently, like, tuning in for the entire bowl season I used to love watching the college bowl games. I loved it. I was like, oh, this is great. I get to see these matchups that I don't see during the year. But now you've got all these players and all these conferences lining up against everybody every other week. All these big primetime matchups, which are fine. But you get to the bowl games, and unless you're playing in the national championship, you got 3/4 of these guys not even showing up. I don't want to play. I don't want to get hurt. I mean, that's what we've come to. It's come to a point where we've tipped the scales to your future potential availability and performance is greater than, in my opinion, finishing a job with your team. I don't know. That's not I don't know. For me, it doesn't sit well. But you know what? In 2024, it works, right? It works. And I guess that's one thing with Coach Prime is that he motivates people. He rallies people. He says all the right things in the right time. But there's been a couple instances now where there have been moments where people around him have been pushed to the forefront or over-insulated. And that stops at your desk, man. That stops at your desk.
It does.
Oh, that's just like you look at the Pro Bowl. It's like years ago, these players competed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I get nobody wants to get injured, whatever. You look at any of these like sports, all NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. Like none of these guys, it used to be an honor to be selected to any of these respectful all-star games, and now it's like, well, I don't want to play, and it's just like where's the pride? You played for your conference, or whether it was a conference or whatever. You got voted in by the fans or fellow players, and now it's just like nobody just wants to be bothered with it.
Yeah, the All-Star games. I think when we were younger and put on the old school hat for a second, it was right. It was really about the fans because we didn't see Carl Yastrzemski play Mike Schmidt on the regular, right? We didn't see Nolan Ryan pitching against Dave Kingman on the regular when he wasn't in that league anymore, right? It's like NBA basketball. You never saw a collection of both the East Coast and the West Coast guys on the same court throughout the season, right? You played this and you played this. There wasn't all this cross-conference, cross-playing stuff. Like that stuff didn't happen. But now it's so normal, so regular. I don't need to see Shohei Ohtani, square up against Zach Wheeler in the All-Star game. Why? Well, I got a series coming up in September. I got a series in July. I'll check it off then. So what motivates these guys to even do that? Nothing. Same thing with the Pro Bowl. You could never get that collection of talent together on an NFL field at all. You might be one game where you've got, a really good Dallas team versus a really good Pittsburgh team, late 70s. Aside from that, no, you're not getting that.
Nope. You're not. Fuji, you were going to say something?
Oh, no. I was just making the noise that was calling them back.
All right. Now, as we're quickly coming up here at the bottom of the hour, it's 11:25 here on the East Coast, 8:25 on the left coast. Thank you all for listening in to Martinez Company. I am Angel Martinez here on the Coastal Sports Network, Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Don't forget to visit the website, sr1029thegame.com. Like the folks in Finland that have been doing as of late, our friends up to the north in Canada. We appreciate everyone visiting the website. I can't thank you guys enough for doing so. Don't forget to download the app, just like Duncan Dad and Fuji has. Fuji has downloaded so much, I think it re-registered about 500 times on his phone. I don't know why. He's trying to figure out how to load it up. But of course, I say that in jest. But thank you guys for downloading the app. Don't forget you can do so directly from the homepage at sr1029thegame.com. This is about the time I start losing my voice because of being on from so early in the morning. But I want to bring up, obviously, the Eagles game, which it was good. It was a solid win. Am I convinced from game one that we're going to the Super Bowl? And I know a lot of teams will feel different ways when it comes to their teams. I'm not yet thoroughly convinced, and I even said it to Pete on Monday. We had talked about it, as I believe as well, that I'm still not thoroughly convinced that this team can go the distance just from seeing what we saw. Jurgensen, this is why this drives me friggin', this is where it's going to irritate me. I keep saying with Nick Sirianni, I don't know, dude, what is it that you can't figure out? You choose to pamper these guys and not play them during the preseason. And then we see botched snaps coming from the center. Oh, gee, why do I have to bring in my O-line and make sure they play a series or not two? I don't know, Nick, because we're too busy planting flowers and petting giraffes and going up to the clouds. It's just ungodly ridiculous. What I can't understand what Nick Sirianni is thinking. Listen, it's time to finally say, I am screwing up the last 2 seasons. If I'm here at the end of this season, I need to do better. Because the only thing that I got out of that game, which is a good thing, it isn't a bad thing, is that Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts are on the same shit of music. I still can't stay the same for Nick and Jalen Hurts. Jalen, again, why are you trying to play Houdini when there's nothing there? I swear, he must see like 15 Eagles on the field and then 3 standbys and then looks over the line. Oh, look, I can thread it in between 2 safeties. Bro, what are you thinking? It's good. First time representing Brazil. There's tons of Eagles fans that are in Brazil because they follow us religiously, not only here when Fuji and I were on back in the day together at nighttime, and especially when it comes to the audio download, that after every show, I make sure I load it up so you guys can hear the replays later on. I understand the conditions weren't great. Shame on the NFL for that one, because soccer, football, even though it's said the same, depending on what country you're listening in on, it is not the same, because they knew at nighttime, once the sun went down, because it's winter in Brazil, that there was a lot of moisture out there. So I just don't get it, but I'm just not convinced. I hope that we see Kirk Cousins that we saw last week, because we knew just a couple years ago, Fuji, back in 2017, one pass would have made a hell of a difference from us winning the Super Bowl that season. So just because, and I don't want to, listen, it's still warm everywhere. Don't give me this nonsense. They're a dome team. It's an open air. It doesn't matter to Kirk Cousins. Neither does it matter to Atlanta. It's not that they go from dome to dome to dome. They play outside. So I don't even hear the weather factor unless some crazy freaking blizzard comes out of nowhere. But other than that, it was a good win. It was a good, solid win. It's just, you need to start bringing these guys in during preseason, Nick. But you're worried about Mr. Armed Security. Make sure we get him on camera. Oh my God, put him in there in the shot. This guy's hurt. Put in security. Make sure security's in there. I'm tired of, listen, Big Dom, whatever. I know he's a fan favorite back in Philly. You're not the team, bro. Let's get it together, Philly. Because if not, Monday night could be a definitely tale of 2 tales. And if Jordan Love did not get hurt, I know he was cramping a lot during that game. Again, different climates. If you guys don't hydrate enough, you see me all the time when I have my water bottle here. If not, I have a water canister or whatever. Hydration is important. And a lot of these athletes, when it comes during the offseason, listen, Jalen Hurts, I'm glad you can bench 500 pounds. That's great for a tush push because you needed it since our favorite center has retired. But how much longer? What are you going to go up to 600 pounds so then you can carry the rest of the team? His demeanor is starting to really get to me because it's almost like, yeah, I know I'm the one here to play with everybody. I know I'm supposed to be doing my job, but at the same time, too, I'm going to make Jalen Hurts look good without saying Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts is talking about himself like Ricky Waters. The Ricky used to talk about himself in third person. That's the only thing that's left for Jalen to do. Stop making plays that are not there. So, with that being said, Fuge, what was your thoughts on last week's win in Sao Paulo?
It's a win. It was sloppy. I mean, this defense has me, very concerned. That defensive line. The Eagles gave up 400 and some yards total, like the Packers did. And it's like you said, Jalen Hurts is, just trying to do too much as far as, what are you throwing the ball across, your body? At one point, 2 interceptions. And, as you get back to, like you said, the Nick Sirianni not playing these guys in preseason, of course it's going to take least a month for the cohesiveness to kick in. New guys coming in, new systems, whatever. But I don't know. It's a sloppy win, but I mean, you're coming home on Monday night, big game. Everybody's ready to rock the link, and it's Kirk Cousins, coming off that Achilles, and he just chokes in prime time. So, but the Eagles better just be ready to shut down, Bijan Robinson, because that run defense last week just, was pretty suspect. I mean, Zach Ball, luckily, 15 tackles, made a big difference at the linebacker position. And, it looks like, Quentin Mitchell just came to play. Looks like a seasoned veteran that, playing with some swag. But, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good game come Monday night. I think the Eagles will pull it out.
Duncan?
Man, I'm like you, Angel. I thought there was a lot more to unpack and be really clear with your vision about than just walking away with Saquon winning Offensive Player of the Week, which I get. He was the only non-quarterback to have 3 touchdowns, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Like, Baker had 146.4 QBR. Like, the dude was next to perfect. So, like, I've got a little chip on my shoulder because I felt as if, Baker should have won that. Just whatever. The Eagles have a good offensive line. Saquon, you're supposed to do this. Okay, you came out and, did your job. But Fuge nailed it. Bijan Robinson is much better than Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is good. Josh Jacobs can carry the load. Josh Jacobs, every now and then, he sprinkles in some catches and whatnot. Bijan's, he's on another level, right? You're Saquon and Bijan they're right here. You know what I'm saying? And Bijan's a lot healthier. Cousins, he always finds a way, right? He finds a way to do something. The environment, all that crap, that's not going to bother him. It's just you're hoping the fact that he gets some prime time and you get prime time Kirk Cousins. Sometimes that stuff's, for real. If defensive side of the ball for the Eagles, Bond, amazing. Hopefully he keeps that mentality, that mindset up, and he locks in. Mitchell, I watched the first 3 series, and I thought to myself, my God, this guy looks like he is a seasoned veteran cornerback, DB. He's coming up on the ball. He's given space. He's got great recovery. He's using his hands. He's not getting turned around. One play, he got turned around because he thought he had backside coverage from Blankenship. But you know what? Right. Even then, he still chased them down and helped Blankenship with the tackle. Right? So, like, I'm very happy about him. The O-line, yeah. You do have to you have to do the small, stupid, repetitive things until they become habit. Right? You the only way you practice, the only way you get better at something is doing it. Right? If I give you a hammer and nails and say, go throw these up on the wall, you're going to bend a bunch of nails before you start getting it right. And then finally, okay, you got it right. Now you get proficient about it. There was a big conversation on WIP. I'm sure Fuge heard it. Ike and Spike and the other guy were talking, and they were having an argument, disagreement about when Jalen went to throw the ball across his body to AJ, was almost picked off or was picked off. Like, is that something that is Jalen's skill set? Is that his decision-making ability? Is it a totality of, everything? And the players, obviously, Ike came back and he said, no, that's all on his decision. It says nothing about his physical abilities, et cetera, et cetera. While I understand some of that, we have seen other quarterbacks in the league could have been a horrible decision.
Right.
But they are physically able to make that throw. Pat Mahomes makes that throw. Josh Allen makes that throw. A healthy Justin Herbert, he makes that throw. They are stronger. They just have a stronger arm. And guess what? That takes that margin of error from this and it brings it down to this. You've got to, this is his 4th year, right? You got to know what you're capable of. I'm super happy that late in the game, when he needed first downs, he was like, time to go. So, right, all those squats, all the deadlifts, all whatever. Yeah, guess what? I hope you got your bulk on you because now you need to get 6-7 yards with your legs and you're going to get smacked. And he went and he did that. Super awesome, super amazing. But these other ones, these other throws where he's, he has a good deep ball because it puts a lot of touch on it. But it's not getting that. He's not catching Tyreek Hill.
Nope.
He's not throwing Tyreek Hill open. No way. He's not going to do that. But that's fine. Like, you know that. And guess what? I want him to be the best version of Jalen that he can be. I think a lot of times, though, he gets into that mentality where, like you said, that third-person rookie, I got to live up to my contract sometimes. I got to be the guy. I'm going to talk like I'm the guy. Dude, you have a good team. Just use your parts. I mean, if anybody was going to be the opposite, the antithesis of that, it would be Purdy in San Francisco. The dude's got Ferrari and a Lamborghini and, a Maserati behind him. He doesn't overthrow the ball. One time he overthrew the ball outside to Debo. Or so, not outside to Debo, outside to Ayuk, because Ayuk didn't take the bend, and they got him on the broadcast saying, this is why you show up to training camp. This is why you show up to practice, because you're going to get a feel again of how the quarterback leads you, what type of ball you're going to be catching. All that stuff is important, but he doesn't press. He knows what he can do. And he's comfortable doing that. Like, that's the only part with Jalen that I still have that, but, right? Like, just, and kudos, not to steal everything, but kudos to Vic Fangio, because those two goal line defensive stops in the red zone, where you're basically, I thought their first two plays picked off the fumble. I'm like, oh, here we go. So we're going to lose this game. And to come away from that with 6 points, that was phenomenal. You could say executional on the Green Bay side or whatever. Reed was tearing them up all day. I mean, like, come on. That defense for that moment, that held, and that gave them the opportunity then to change their cleats, mix in some of the other runs, and then go forward. But, that's how the NFL is. One or two plays, it turns on. And fortunately for them, not the whole totality of the game, because like Fuchs said, they gave up a ton of yards. They gave up a ton of over-the-top plays, right? They weren't doing the best all the time, but they kept away from Mitchell, right? They used the other side of the field. They don't want to mess with him. And after a while, they figured, you know what? We're not really getting the push we need, in the center, so we need to go elsewhere. But it's a work in progress. I'm not ready to anoint them as, the best team in the NFC and Super Bowl bound and blah, 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 blah. You still got to show up. You still got to win games. And it's a tricky game, right? You're coming off of a longer break. Now I got to play on Monday night. Like, it's not a trap game, but it's we better show up and handle our business early kind of game. If not, it's going to be a long, long drawn out night. And we might win. Elliott might kick a field goal, but you're going to make it much more harder for yourself than you have to.
Yeah, nope, all good points. But I know someone who would love to say something about Green Bay, who is joining us here live from the left coast out there known as Arizona, is Penguin AZ. Penguin AC, my hermano. How are you?
Good. Good morning. Good morning, Duncan Dad, Angel, Martinez and company, everybody out there. What's going on?
Good.
What's going on?
You say Mark Anthony and company? I'm not Mark Anthony.
Martinez.
And not, listen, of course, I'm saying that joking around, but so Penguin AZ, I mean, obviously a huge Green Bay fan. Did not want to see the injury, and it could have been worse for Jordan Love. It could have been a lot worse. Cramped most of the game. We saw the two trainers with them silly looking guns that obviously vibrate back and forth, and they were trying to loosen up his legs and stuff. And there's only so much hydration you can end up doing, but it could have been a lot worse. I'm happy to see that thankfully it wasn't. What did you think of week one going into week two with your Green Bay Packers?
Heck, I seen yesterday morning that the Ferg let him know that, Jordan Love might come back too soon. Let's get in there. Willis has been working the practices all week. I mean, why rush him back? It's still early in the season. Like Duncan Dad said earlier, it's week two. Week two, still, I mean, we're rookies on the line. We got rookies in defense. I mean, we have a new defensive coordinator. We have a new offensive coordinator with Stenovich. You got Haley as a defensive guy. I mean, we got guys on the line that are rookies. And I mean, were the field conditions crap? Yes. All that stuff. But you know what? It was equal for both sides, right? Both sides were playing. I mean, I was about to give Duncan Dad some grief and tell him like, hey, man, I don't know if your boys are going to be able to come back. I mean, those first two picks and for the Eagles to hold them to only 6 points, that means a lot. So, you know, they were getting to Love. Jacobs wasn't able to do much. I mean, our rookie running back is hurt. Dylan is out for the season. I mean, it just, you know, like it's been said, the guys are not practicing or they're not playing any of their preseason games. I mean, these guys are rusty. These guys spend more time at the gym, at the field, at practice than they do sometimes at home.
Massage parlors.
These guys have to start gelling, man. Like, come on, you guys can't wait. Like, let's go. We got to get some of these guys in there to actually tackle and do what they're supposed to do or get paid to do.
You're right.
And it just, Love, I let them and sit them out for a couple of weeks. Let them come back, let them rest up. Let them call the plays even or see what's up. But, yeah, I mean, overall, just the Packers were just a little bit not ready and traveling and, that you're not opening it at home and it just all kinds of stuff. So I'm okay. I mean, I'm glad the injury wasn't as severe or as bad. I mean, I was about to throw in the towel. And, of course, I got a Love jersey towards the end of the last season. I'm like, you know what? Heck, I threw it on. I'm all, posting on Instagram, showing off my Green Bay gear. And I'm like, he's already going to be done for the season. I was like, I wanted to get the jersey and just put it back and ship it back to Amazon and say it didn't fit.
That would have been kind of tough, but Penguin, yeah. I want to ask you a question, though, because I know from we've seen, right, and I'm pretty sure Green Bay fans are absolutely happy that Aaron Rodgers is doing so bad. But I don't understand because years ago, obviously, when Brett Favre was your former QB, and Aaron Rodgers comes in, and obviously Brett didn't want to train up Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers turns around and says he would never do that to someone else. And then they come to find out draft night that they end up getting Jordan Love and then basically treat him like garbage. Would you say that maybe the Packers fans are just a tad bit happy that since Rodgers left from Green Bay, has not had the same amount of success that he did when he played for him?
I think, there's some fans out there, even for myself, he towards the end of his time with the Packers, I mean, if he didn't go right from the get-go or if he had a bad throw interception or something happened, I mean, it would mess him up for the rest of the game. Sometimes towards the end, I don't think his head, and even now when I saw him play with the Jets, I mean, you saw one of the first, I think it was his interception or something, he threw something happened and just that look that you could tell, and me watching him play all those years, like you could just see it in his face and it's just his composure that he's like, oh, well, whatever. And then they get shellacked. He gets taken out of the game. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, maybe that's a good thing. Good thing you're gone and we don't have to deal with that stuff, anymore. Like when you do that stuff, it makes the whole team around you, I'm like, oh man. I mean, yeah, he's a quarterback and he became almost like a prima donna. Hey, we're all here to play and we don't need you and that other drama you bring. Come and be our quarterback and lead our team and be successful.
That's it, because you have to lead by example. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Fuji goes through the airport, and everybody already knows who he is. It's the Godfather. Everybody, buy down. The Godfather's coming through. As I like to goof around a lot with Fuji, but no, you have to. Everything is led by example, and that's the way he should have handled it. With New York, to me, like he's thrown the Jets, and I don't know, people. I don't get how people don't see it, they don't hear it. He's thrown the Jets under the bus so many times now that I think even Greyhound came out of friggin' bankruptcy and ran him over and then went back into bankruptcy as well, because it's ridiculous the way Rodgers is, it's literally, if you heard his last press conference, I'll see if I can find a little audio clip here of him. It's this whole thing like with a rosé or some crap or another. Let's see if I can find it real quick so you guys can end up hearing this, but it doesn't make any sense. Where is the one from? All right, here we go. Aaron Rodgers, as he talks about the overreaction that comes with losing the first game in the NFL, and this is credit to SNNY New York. This is, to me, you guys will probably just be as dumbfounded as I am.
Different team, different time, different era kind of thing, but you were, a lot of people remember you for the relax thing in Green Bay for overreaction. Is there any parallel to what went down in San Francisco Monday night and to what you have to look ahead forward?
I mean, I think we always got to stay relaxed. It's a long season. I think at times people think the season is like you're out in the prairie or the desert and you're wandering around trying to find water. But it's more like a nice, slow bolero, where we're just swaying with the music and reacting to whatever comes to us and through us, and just trying to not get too high with the highs or too low with the lows. The league is a lot different than when I said relax years ago, in that there's just so much more coverage, that there's so much more opportunity for overreaction. So I get it. We want to win. Our fans want to win. The organization wants to win. But the process has to be the same. If it's good enough in week one, it's good enough in the playoffs. So we got to stick to the process and the preparation, the way that goes, and trust that it's good enough. Like a nice, smooth bolero.
So to quote what Aaron Rodgers just said there.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
That's exactly what he was saying.
Phenomenal drop. Drop. Shout out to the late, great Gene Wilder, man. Woo!
To me, man, it's insane. It really is insane. What world are you living anymore? And then you decided, you had an scheduled trip during preseason, right? And you didn't care about the team then. Whatever. Someone earlier this morning on Pete's show made a comment up there too that he didn't care about going out to the preseason. It might have been Tim Barrington, who's a Dallas Cowboys fan. But honest to God, I don't understand Aaron Rodgers. Whatever. You got your money. You're 40 years old. Pretty soon you're going to be going away. But you've basically given up on the Jets week one. Week two, I'm dying to see what's going to happen this week. And we'll get into some of the games here as well, because I like to get Penguin AZ's picks as well for this week. But, to Fuji, I don't know if you want to add anything before we move on to the NFL. Then I have to make sure I get my USF articles in here as well. But what did you think about as far as Sao Paulo and the Eagles?
Oh, like I said, I mean, Duncan Dad hit it. It was Vic Fangio with those 2 goal line stands. Basically, it was a Saquon Barkley show. And I don't know what it is. Not just Jalen Hurts throwing the ball away or holding on to it. It just seems like we have a history of Eagles quarterbacks that just can't throw a ball away out of bounds. I don't know what it is. Not that, going to get into it, but a win's a win, in the NFL, and just I'm not putting this team in the Super Bowl yet. There's still a lot of work to be done, but like we said, these guys don't play in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And, it takes, it's like, so the month of September is basically preseason. Mm-hmm. Guys are either getting hurt because they don't practice the way they used to. And, the cohesiveness has to come together with new faces, new coaches, new system, whatever. And just to touch on Aaron Rodgers, I mean, to me, the man his body language says it all. Like, you could just see, to me, he didn't want to even be out there Monday night against San Fran. I think he's just collecting the check. He's not really setting a good example for these young guys. I mean, you got a slew of talent around you. And to me, he just looks miserable as all hell. He's not the same Aaron Rodgers he was, 5-10 years ago. Of course, he's older, coming off an Achilles injury, but I hope for his sake he could survive the season. But, he just looks like a miserable blank. And I don't know. I always liked Aaron Rodgers, but his attitude just flat out sucks.
It does.
I mean, if I'm a Jets fan, really, I don't know. It's just I wouldn't want him on my team.
I wouldn't either. Honest to God, I really wouldn't, because he doesn't, like, you just can't. Listen, it's like me going to Walmart and comparing it to the most high-end store out there. Like, I walk around in Walmart, but what's Saks Fifth Avenue? That's the way I'm walking around, my nose up in the air. Not saying that people are relaxed, folks, before you get all nuts on me here. But, it's the same way. Like, if you're in Walmart, be Walmart. You're in Saks, be Saks. If I'm in Saks, I'm being Walmart because I'm being me. It's just the way it is. But for Aaron Rodgers to compare, it's like a rosé in the Capistranos of the Swallows out in California, running through Arizona. It's listen, Jets fans, you guys have to deal with that nonsense and Hassan Reddick, which Coach Salah, because no one has an answer. And I believe Joe Douglas will be seeing his last year as a GM because this could not play out any worse for him out there in New York. So I will leave that at that. Go ahead, Duncan Dunked.
Yeah, no. Just two things on that with Douglas and with Rodgers, right? So first thing with Douglas, I mean, he collects the right talent, right? But the cohesiveness, matching the personalities, getting the right guy for your locker room, that's what makes Howie Roseman so great. You look at the guy like, man, I don't know, but they come in and they assimilate into the culture. They add to the culture of the team. They bring a lot of talent. They bring like medium above average kind of talent. So when you just, this is when people say like, oh, build your favorite, basketball team of all time. This is who you need, who you gonna win, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times you don't need KD, Steph, LeBron, Giannis, and Wemby on your team, right? You need some role players, right? You need some guys who are going to come in. They got some talent, but they're going to do their job, right? We hear this all the time. Just do your job. Just do your job. Everything else is going to follow. Rodgers was specifically brought there to do a certain job. They were going to pay him a decent amount of money. He gets injured. He has his come to Jesus moment, come to whomever moment. He presents himself whatever he wants to now. And Aaron Rodgers has an A-plus checklist, first ballot Hall of Fame, blah, 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 blah. But we hear this in baseball all the time. We need to start applying it to football because such a finite schedule. We always say in baseball that you cannot win your division or your conference in April, but you can lose it, right? You get so much behind an 8 ball, you can lose it. Same thing with football now. You're not going to win your division in September, but you might lose it. And you might lose it in the sense that the mentality that you're creating amongst your locker room will then ride its all the way through every game going forward. Stacking on top, stacking on top, stacking on top, stacking on top. Because, like Penguin was saying, these guys, they spend all this time in the film room, in the gym, hanging out, whatever it is. And if you're just hearing and you're just looking at a guy who's like, dude, that's supposed to be our leader? And he's not even engaged. He's looking, like Fuji said, look at his body language on Monday night. He's like, like, you can't correct that kind of stuff. And that's in someone's head. Now you're overpressing. Now you're overthinking. Now you're overcompensating for things that you don't have to overcompensate for. Like, they have a good defense. Let that defense go. But the defense is going out now saying, man, we got to pick these guys up again? They're not getting anything done over here? Why is he trying to force it to Huff on that one? Why is he trying to jam it into, Lazard right now? Just take what they're giving you. Take what they're giving you. We know we got your back. We got your back. But that mentality, it builds and builds. San Francisco could have been like, holy crap, we're without CMC. Guess we're going to rely on, Debo Samuel, who's been there the whole time, and Kittle, because Ayuk didn't take a damn snap in the preseason, and hopefully Purdy won't mess it up. Our defense will carry us. Kid walked in. He's like, let's go.
Yep.
Let's do it. Shanahan's like, we're running this offense. Duncan, you want to run it? Angel, you want to run it? Get in the backfield. Let's go. The holes are going to be there. Execute, execute, execute. They could have been like, oh my God, our MVP candidate, he's hurt again. They didn't. They held themselves up high and they pushed through it.
They didn't. All good points. It's true. It's all good points. Shanahan so far and crew looking good again. Week 2, game 2 for everyone. But I want to get into the picks here before we get into some USF, our University of South Florida. As this week, the 5,
Angel,
yes.
Real quick, I got a customer, so I got to go. But thanks for having me on. I'll throw in my picks through text or a message.
Okay.
But thanks for having me on. Good to see you again, Duncan Dad. Sorry to just leave so abrupt, but I got to get back to work. That 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Make that paper.
No, but to touch real quick before I get off the phone.
Yeah.
Man, cohesiveness, right? In other sports, baseball, basketball, there's over 100 games. In football, there's going to be 20 maybe. You don't have that many games to try to put a team together and make them all, those personalities work. Cohesion is me and Duncan Dad have talked about that since we started and became great friends. Cohesiveness of a team, man.
Yep.
Cohesive. When you got a bad apple, it stinks. I'm out. Thank you.
All right.
Peace.
Penguin, easy.
Have a good one.
All right, so there goes Penguin AZ. Hopefully he'll hang up there on his end as the party line is starting to shrink just a little bit more. So we got Mike Fuji still on the line with us, Duncan Dad, 11:57. We're quickly approaching the end of the show. This time might be a little bonus time because obviously I still have stuff to fit in for USF. But picks of the week I've already gotten from Rick Marcus and Gas Pump Guy. Penguin AZ will send me his a little bit later on. Last week, 2 5-0s. And then what else do we have there, Duncan Dad, for our picks of the week from last week?
2 5-0s, 5-1. Sorry, 4-1 for myself. Fuge was 3-2, and Gas Pump Guy was 2-3.
All right. So this week we'll start off with Detroit at Tampa Bay, or vice versa, I should say. But Detroit, Tampa Bay. Fuji, I'll start with you. Who do you got?
I'm going with the Lions. I know Baker. I know Tampa, smoked Washington. Give them credit where it's due, but Lions week 2, I think they're just still going to play with that chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Detroit too. It's a home game for Detroit, even though Williams is banged up. Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of the line is not the Washington front, so I'm hoping Tampa can mitigate some of that, but that's a lot to ask. A lot to ask right now in week 2.
Yeah, I see what Detroit did last week. I was kind of leaning the Bucs way, but I just don't. Baker Mayfield's good. I just don't know they have enough weapons to be able to beat Detroit. Detroit's line is looking stellar.
It's a good measuring stick for Tampa. It's a good measuring stick for where they're at. I think that's if they come out of that game and they lose by a touchdown, don't turn the ball over, that's a win for Tampa.
Yep. No, I agree.
Good point.
San Fran, Minnesota Fuge. Who you got?
San Fran's going to just run roughshod over this Minnesota team. No questions asked.
There's 4 teams right now that are drinking a little Kool-Aid in the NFL. Minnesota's one of them, man. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah. All right. I feel bad because they are. It's going to be pretty bad. As Gaslam Guy and Rick Marcus also both went with San Fran. Of course, Gaslam Guy went with the Bucs because he loves his Bucs. Now, Atlanta, Philly, this pretty much I'm quite sure across the board everyone's going with the Eagles, but I'll still go through it. Duncan Dad?
Oh, yeah. I learned my lesson, but opening night down there at the Link, real first home game, Monday, go Birds.
Fuge?
No question asked. The Link will be rocking. 2024 first home game, opening night, Monday, under the Monday night lights. Go Birds!
Yeah, so I got Fuji down for the Falcons. Got it. Green Bay. Green Bay, Indy. Duncan Dad, who do you got?
Oh, man. Geez.
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one because Anthony Richardson getting another shot. Looked okay in week 1. I think what I'm giving the edge to Indianapolis is we don't really know the full condition of Jordan Love. Malik Willis, as good as he is, okay. Josh Jacobs is still banged up for the Packers, but Jonathan Taylor is not. So Jonathan Taylor running for the Colts. This much. I'm taking the Colts.
All right. Fuge?
We'll have to go with the Colts, like Duncan Dad was saying. I mean, the Colts fought a pretty tough division game last week against Houston. Now, Anthony Richardson, one of the big talks of the NFL this year. Like I said, Indy fought a hard-fought battle, could have came away with it, but, Jordan Love being out.
Yeah.
Indy all the way.
All right. We had guests from guys going with Green Bay. Rick Marcus is also going with Indy. See, I'm torn between these two because, again, we don't know the extent of Jordan Love's injury. We did see what the Colts were able to do last week. This is, it's almost like my toss-up game of the week, and it's a tough one. Again, my gut went with the Bills last night. I chose the Dolphins. My gut is saying the Colts, but I'm going to give one up to Green Bay. So I'll take the L for the week along with Gas Pump Guys. So I'll stick with the Packers and see if maybe they can pull some surprise miracle from the Colts. And then the last one to choose from here is between the Seahawks and the new Gerard Mayo New England Patriots. I'll start with you, Duncan Dad.
Oh, man. I don't think Lightning is going to strike twice for the Patriots, so I'm going to go with Seattle.
All right. Pooch?
I'm going to go in the direction Duncan Dad is. I mean, this game's, you might as well just put a blindfold on and just hit the wall if you can. But I'm going to go Seattle. Just a better offense and a little better defense as of right now. I mean, New England's coming off that win, but just suspect.
Yeah, no, listen, it's a clean sweep across the board because everyone picked pretty much Seattle, including yours truly. I know Gerard Mayo, they look good week one, don't get me wrong. I think they can still kind of semi-pull it off against Seattle. I think Seattle's experience a little bit better. I think Gino being at the helm, I think also gives you a competitive edge to Seattle. So I think for that one, it'll definitely be Seattle. So to kind of recap here, Detroit, Rick, Fuji, Duncan Dad, myself, picked the Lions. Gas Pump Guy went with Tampa Bay. For San Francisco, the 49ers, Gas Pump Guy, Rick, Fuji, Duncan Dad, and myself, clean sweep across the board there. The same way with the Eagles, clean sweep across the board. Green Bay Indy was, for Green Bay was myself and Gas Pump Guy. And then with Indy was Rick, Duncan Dad, and Fuji. And then across the board for Seattle, none of us believe that the Patriots are able to do so. So we'll end up doing that as well. The other thing as well, I want to kind of get a couple other ones here before I get into some USF stuff, but you got Baltimore at Vegas. Now, this is not part of our picks unless you guys go to sr1029thegame.com and you go over to the Pigskin Pick'em, and then it will be part of those picks. But I will pick two more out of here just for, craps and giggles. But Fuji, Baltimore, Vegas. This will be a kind of no-brainer.
Baltimore, they're coming off a tough loss, which they, could have pulled out. First game against Kansas City. I just think they're ready to just, I forget what game, but like I said about Stanford, I think Baltimore is just going to run roughshod over the Raiders, even though it's on the road. They're at home. That's right. But got a bad taste in their mouth coming off that loss last week. Baltimore all the way.
Duncan?
Yeah, this really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be that close of a game. I think Baltimore probably wins it comfortably. There's not a whole lot more to. They're just a better team.
All right, and then if I end up doing this one here, because this will be the highlight game of the week, said no one, which is the Giants and the Commanders, the best of the worst. Duncan, I'll start with you.
Oh, man. I think you got to go with Washington because Jaden Daniels looks legit at quarterback. You still got McLaurin down there catching a few balls. I just think that the Giants franchise, sort of like the Jets at some point, they're just in so much disarray. There's just if somebody in this league needed to hit the pause button, it's the Giants right now. There's so much going on. So much going on with them.
There are. Fuge?
This is, like I said, I think Washington may surprise some people this year. This is Washington all the way. This is pretty much like the toilet bowl of the week because, not only the Giants in disarray, but what the hell was the point of those Montreal Canadian uniforms last week? They were friggin' hideous. Where the frig did the PR department come up with that garbage? You could probably just give those uniforms to Goodwill. They were just putrid. I can't. I'm sorry, but look like the Montreal Canadiens.
They do. Listen, even the third world countries are saying, listen, we're getting better. We don't want that stuff either. It's freaking garbage. Give it to your own freaking people.
Trash.
It was absolutely. If you're going to celebrate, 100 years?
Yep,
That's how you do it? Come on. You could have made a better choice than that. But whatever. Maybe that's why. That's why the fans got so upset in the beginning of the game as well. And they're just going to get equally upset this week. Duncan?
If it was more.
Called Vera Wang or one of these.
Exactly. If it was more traditional,
fashion designers.
if it was more traditional blocking, but
Right.
the highlight goldy kind of like that, just like no. You saw it drop and you looked at the difference. You're like, I don't think we need these accent pieces here. Let's just wear white pants. Just wear white pants. Go back to the old Little League days. Put a stripe down the side.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Stevie Wonder could have drawn a better freaking outfit than these clowns did the way he did it, but whatever. That's on them. But yeah, I'll go with Washington. Also, the same way with Baltimore. I don't see that the Las Vegas Raiders can pull that one out. Again, stranger things have happened, as we know, week to week here in the NFL. But sticking with football here for a second, but on the collegiate level, the USF Bulls take on Southern Miss coming up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Last week, while we were over at the historical match at Soccer ID, Club America versus Atlético Nacional, where I was able to call my first goal ever of my lifetime. And I made sure I didn't screw it up, because if you do it in Spanish and English, it's pretty much goal. So you can't screw that one up unless you scream it the wrong way. But we were watching a game. It was a close game. I want to say it was like 16-14, something like that. USF was on top. And then whatever happened, Alabama turned on the Jets, and the final ended up being 42-16. So that makes USF, the Bulls, right now 1-1 as they get ready to travel once again before they come home to the U. So they will be playing Saturday night at Southern Miss. That should be a good game. Of course, the first one at home, big home opener against Bethune-Cookman, which they shellacked them at 48-3. So go Bulls. As far as the men's side, that will be again at MM Roberts Stadium, where you guys can listen to on ESPN-A Radio, 102.5 FM, 102.5 HD, and Bulls Unlimited at the USF Bulls app. If you guys have not downloaded that app, just like you do here for SR 1029, you can listen in to the games in case you do not have ESPN Plus. But also yesterday, the match last night between South Florida against Charlotte could have been worse, but a couple of great stops by goalkeeper Galak there for USF, where she basically, like you hear in hockey, basically on her head all night long, all match long. Did well, a couple of good big stops for Señorita Galak, and she ended up getting the AAC, I believe, if I remember correctly, Offensive Player of the Week. And that was Elsie Thorne was named the American Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Week, but Señorita Galak was named the American Athletic Conference Goalkeeper of the Week, and rightfully so, because she has really been playing lights out since the first loss against the Seminoles, the defending champs. This week coming up for the ladies, I want to make sure I get back here to the roster. But one thing I want to read here real quickly, this is by Chad Smith. This is prior to the match, where he said the University of South Florida's women's soccer opens the AAC play on the road against Charlotte on Thursday, which again, you guys knew it was a 0 or a 0-0 draw. I mentioned, obviously, the Elsie Thornton was named the AAC Offensive Player of the Week. Señorita Galak as the Goalkeeper of the Week. One thing that I will mention, too, is that he spoke with Coach Brown at the end of the match, and he had talked about how tough it was, a hard-fought match between both teams, but ended up being really good as the ladies were on the road again for another week. They come home on September 15th. I want to make sure I get it correctly here. As they are, let's see, after going on their 3-game win streak, of course, they tied it up at Kansas. Then USF, that was a win there. And again, another draw or tie. Then they're back home Sunday, September 15th at 6 p.m. versus Stetson. Salute to service. That will be at Corbett Stadium. Tickets are still available. You guys can visit USF or go USFBulls.com. Pick up your tickets there. You can also go to SR1029thegame.com. Click on the USF icon. It'll take you directly over to the website, and you guys can pick up your tickets. The next match will be at 6 p.m. Sunday night, where the ladies are looking to extend their win streak after coming off basically 2 draws and a win. They're hoping to get the next one coming up here. And then USF Volleyball continues to win at the Corral. They swept North Florida last night 3-0. And as I was watching the double duty screens between the women's volleyball and the women's soccer on the pitch, it was a great night last night for USF. As they start out their conference tournament games before the actual season kicks off. They came off a 2-game win streak. Add this one, I guess, would end up being 3 for the ladies. Next match day for the ladies as well. And I hate to have cut it short, but because we are already in bonus time here on the network, we're looking at, like I said earlier on during the Invitational, the exhibition match, they had won 3-0. Then during the Invitational, they had lost against Florida, against the Seminoles, Georgia Bulls, and Santa Barbara. Then went on to win on the Gator tournament against the Gators 3-2, beat Ohio State in the Gator tournament 3-2, then Southern Indiana at 3-0, and of course the South Florida Invitational, the home opener, 3-0. So truthfully, now not only on a 1-0 streak, but obviously a 4-0 streak if you take the Invitational. So after starting out 0-3, the ladies have turned it around. Next match for your South Florida Bulls will be this weekend, tomorrow at 2 o'clock versus North Carolina State. That also be at the Corral. Tickets are still available, and it might be limited because honestly, last night looked like an extreme packed house. So there'll be coverage of that coming up this weekend. And then don't forget tomorrow night as well for soccer fans that continue to support not only USF, but also the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club, which all the coverage is right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Tomorrow night, tickets are still available for Tampa Bay Sun. It is Hispanic Heritage Month celebration tomorrow night for the Tampa Bay Sun. And one thing, of course, I forgot to do was to make sure I bring up the schedule correctly, as they're coming off a win this past week on the road. So they are home for the big one here at home. That is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, versus Brooklyn Football Club out there. If you guys don't know, obviously it's Brooklyn, New York, but Brooklyn Football Club, that's tomorrow night, Riverfront Stadium. You guys can still purchase your tickets. And if I go back to, if it lets me know, I don't think it'll have the stats up there from the last one, which I don't see up there, but you guys can still secure your tickets for tomorrow night for the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club. So make sure you do so. You can also get the tickets as well. Support the young ladies, USF women's volleyball, and then of course the soccer match coming up here this weekend. So it's going to be a busy weekend. USF, again, football for the men coming Saturday night. So thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you for those who continue to support us here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We wouldn't do this without you guys. So we do appreciate all the viewers and listeners. Mike Fuji calling in and for those who don't know, Mike is down at the border today, chasing a bunch of people around the border. So that's why he hasn't said much. He's trying to keep control down there at the border. So thanks, Fuji, for doing a tremendous job down there.
Special assignment.
There you go. Right. And
I'm going to bring some law and order to
now,
finally. Somebody will.
Duncan, Dad, you said something right there, right? When you said about as far as on assignment, I had one last year during a show where I said if Fuji was on assignment, what's he do as soon as he comes back on air the very next time? Blurts out where he really was. I'm like, I had you sold. I said he was out in the desert in the Saudi going out there on a special assignment. Now he comes back and just tells everybody the truth where he was. I'm like, dude, I had it sold.
Down the Jersey Shore in Avalon.
Yeah. Taking in the balmy breezes on the beach.
Yeah, there you go. But for
like Eddie Murphy said in Beverly Hills Cop 2, I'm going deep, 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 deep undercover.
Exactly. Well, listen, we'd like to thank everyone the same way with Duncan Dad. I appreciate his time as always. And then Monday we'll be back here again. Kind of pay attention because there's something that might be a schedule change on Monday, maybe possibly because something else, another event that's going on here locally. So I have to make sure I put everything together. But just pay attention on the social medias. I'll update you guys as we go along throughout the weekend here. But don't forget, you guys, if you are local here in Southwest Florida, support the Bulls, support the Tampa Bay Sun Football Club as they're doing a phenomenal job. And that Riverfront Stadium they put together is absolutely to die for. It is a lot of fun. It's a great time. Other than it's blazing hot, it will be blazing hot tomorrow night for the match. So I think the last game on the pitch, the game started at 96 degrees on the pitch. It is about 106, and it may have gotten down to 99 by the time it was all said and done. But again, support your local teams here in Southwest Florida as we cover not only the Bucks, Dolphins, USF, Miami. We'll get into that coming next week as well, as not only does USF to get over this week, but in the bigger game coming up against Miami U over the weekend. So thank you to everyone Don't forget, download the brand new digital sports app over directly from the website at sr1029thegame.com. Don't forget to follow the network on the social medias at sr1029thegame, also on CSN Florida. If you guys want to follow Mike Fuji, just put Run for the Border, and then you can follow Mike Fuji that way as well. And Dunkin' Dad is real simple. As in,
Dunkin' Dad.
There you go. Fuji, of course, they can follow you where?
Balbo Philly 1 on X.
There you go. See, it takes Fuji sometimes a little while, Dunkin' Dad. I don't know what it is. Every once he gets a little slow on me. I don't know what's going on, but just every once in a while. But it's okay. I understand.
It's Rocky Balboa thing.
Is that what it is? All right. Well, listen, thanks to everyone. We do appreciate it. We will talk to everyone on Monday. Have yourselves a great weekend. Don't forget, coming up this afternoon, it is my hermano, Rich Quinones, The Drive with Q from 3 to 5 p.m. And who knows, because it's Football Friday, might even go to some bonus minutes as well. So you guys can call into that show as well at 727-858-6650. And don't forget to leave some nice messages for us here all over the social medias as we do our best to entertain you, the sports fans. So have a great weekend. We will talk to you all on Monday.
Have a good weekend and go Birds.
Crow Birds. I didn't play the fight song because I already went 15 minutes pretty much over into bonus time. Although it doesn't freaking matter, but because it becomes a long day, I have to get ready for Rich's stuff.